Hello, this is James Cook of the University of Maine at Augusta, and I'm recording this video to show how simple it is to summarize a variable with a few different kinds of measurements. It's just not that hard, even when you use a spreadsheet. So we're going to be working with a unit of analysis that's kind of fun if you're nerdy like me, and that is the unit of analysis being a book. Okay, so we're gonna collect some data about books. I love books, love them. And as we do that, we're going to describe them as we go. So I want to take a few variables about a book, and so we can start with the height of a book, which we've operationalized before as the measured distance by using a ruler, by taking the ruler and noting its smallest distance from the bottom to some point on the top, making sure that therefore it's straight, because that's what the smallest distance is. That's great. We can also do genre, right? So that's going to be height. We're going to have a book ID, because every book should have an ID. Every case should have an ID number. And let's see, we're going to do genre, as we've done before. Okay, and then, oh, this will be fun. Perhaps we'll do number of pages. Great. That's a good set of variables. Don't need to do more than that, and we're just going to get started, and we're going to generate a series of them. So I'm literally going to do that with you here. 7 3/4 inches, 7.75 inches for book number 1. The genre is nonfiction, and the number of pages is 813. Second one, you might want to give it a title. That one is called Field Guide to Seashore Creatures. Okay. Second one has a title of Brave New World. Not that many pages. 177. It is a piece of fiction, although he's trying to talk about nonfiction things. Aldous Huxley is. And the height is, collecting data is fun, 7 inches. Okay. Wow. Okay. 2 down, 8 to go. Neil Gaiman, Coraline. Yeah. Now I'm not collecting author this time. 7.5 inches tall. Just the title, and it is fiction, and it has also a short number of pages. 163 pages. Book number 4, fun one. I haven't read it yet, but I plan to. It's Tales of the Ozark Howler by Saul Ashton. 8 inches. And this is folklore, which I'm going to call, oh, well, do we call that fiction or nonfiction? It's a collection of stories. Classic Southern folklore. I'm going to call that fiction, because folklore is not necessarily true, never know. Okay, 101 pages. And it is called Tales of the Ozark Howler. Okay. Similarly, folklore, fiction, collected stories by Eddie Linehan. 7 3/4 inches tall. 7.75. And this is Long Ago by Shannonside. It's collected stories from Ireland, and it's called Long Ago by Shannonside, and it has 127 pages. We're already halfway through. When Asia Was the World. Oh, great. Okay, which is 8 inches. And nonfiction. When Asia Was the World. 228 pages. Another one done. And The Time Traveler's Wife, Audrey Niffenegger. I apologize for mispronouncing your name, Miss Niffenegger, because you have written a great book. A book of fiction. A book of fiction that is kind of thick at 500 and, oh my goodness gracious, 570 pages? 571 pages. Okay. The Time Traveler's Wife. Now, book number 8 is Seconds, a graphic novel, which is fiction. Well, this one's definitely fiction. It's also a fun one. That is 8 1/4 inches. Okay, 8.25. It is fiction, and oh, it's really fun. Check it out. Drawing. Okay, so let's take a look and see how many pages it's got. Yes, 321 pages. Fun. Number 9 is Italian art. $12.50 to $15.50, and that is a piece of nonfiction because it's describing stuff, and that is 9.25 inches. 9.25. That is nonfiction. It is book number 9, and it has how many pages? 294 pages. You know, all this variation here in the world. Aha. Now this one, I don't know what to do about this with genre, right? Because it is from a piece of fiction, but it's not like is it telling a story? It's telling you how to play something, which is like instruction, which is like nonfiction. I'm going to give it its own genre. Sometimes when you're doing work, you have to go back and revise your ideas. I thought everything was fiction or non-fiction. I'm going to call this art, just because I don't know where to fit it, because it's kind of fictional and kind of non-fictional, right? It's piano solo stuff for Wicked. It's 12 inches tall, and it is 71 pages, and it's called Wicked piano solo. Okay, so I've got a data set. It's got 10 cases. I've got 4 substantive variables plus the one trivial one that is called book ID. And I want to calculate a series of items. I want to calculate a frequency distribution. Sounds complicated, but it isn't really. Mean, median, mode, and range. Okay, for some variables. Now, there are some kinds of variables at some levels of measurement. Remember, our levels are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. for which it is possible to calculate some things but not others. Okay, so some of these are categorical variables. They're nominal variables, meaning they just are the name of something. They're not really in any order, and they can't have a numerical calculation because they're not numerical, right? And those are genre and title, right? So those ones, it just doesn't make sense to calculate a mean, which is the definition is the number of or sum across all cases divided by the number of cases. Okay, you can't calculate that. You can't sum up titles because they're not numbers. So you just can't calculate mean there. Okay, so we're going to try to be calculating means of things, but we can't do it for all of them. Can we calculate a frequency distribution for all of these? Yeah, we sure can, because you can count even nominal variables, right, as they lump into categories and see if they have an interesting frequency distribution. So we can do that, and that is literally how many of each value. How many of each value there are. That's all a frequency distribution is, right? So we can do median for everything that can have order. And remember, nominal variables have no order. So we can't do a median for a genre or a title. But for those other variables, we can do a median, and the median is going to be the middle value of ordered list. That's what a median is. The mode is the most frequent value, and so we can do that for every one of these variables. And the range is, well, it's numerical again, and it is the highest value minus the lowest value. And that tells you how far out from its minimum to its maximum these values go. Can't do that with nominal variables, but you can do that with the other ones. Well, okay, let's start out by doing a little bit of work with frequency distributions. Okay, let me take these definitions and stick them down here for now. Okay, so let's play with frequency distributions. Okay, I'm going to take this column here. I'm going to click in Microsoft Excel on the little letter that is above the column, and that will select everything. And then I could either click copy over here or just do Control C. And then I'm going to start a new tab by clicking a little plus on the bottom tab. And I'm going to just take that over there. Wow, look at that. Now it's all over here for me to play with. So can I calculate a frequency distribution? Sure. You know how many of each there are? It's really basic. If I want to make both of these, there we go. The frequency of each is 1. It's that simple. That's all there is to it, and nothing else. So if I wanted to, I could do a frequency distribution chart, but it wouldn't look very interesting. It would look like this. Okay, there's that old frequency. I want to format the y-axis so that our units are going to be in ones. And it's going to look just like that. Let's make it big so you can read it. And my goodness, but what a boring chart that is. It's saying that each of these titles has one occurrence. Ah, the most boring frequency distribution ever. But there it is. You could do it if you wanted. Okay, what about what are the other things we want to calculate? We want to calculate the mean. Now, we can't do that because it's not numerical. Can we calculate the median? No, because golly gee, there is no order to these. Okay, what about the mode? Yeah, well, in this particular case, the mode, most frequent value, they're all tied for the mode because they each occur once. So, there is no one mode in this particular case. They're all tied as the most common answer because we don't have two copies of the same book with the same title. If we did, then that one would be the mode, the most common frequent value, and it would be the winner. But in this data set, we don't have that. What about the range? Range can't calculate it because there's no numerical minimum or numerical maximum in the value title. Huh. Okay, so that was for title. Let's go forward with something a little bit more interesting, which is number of pages. And so I'm going to generate another sheet down here, another tab, and I'm going to title it pages. And I'm going to go ahead and click the number above column D. It'll select it all. Then I will copy it and paste that information in. Now, I could go through manually for the frequency distribution, and I could show you that there aren't any ties here, right? And so we could have a frequency distribution, and again, in this case, the frequency is always 1. Great. So that's pretty straightforward. I could give you another graph that looks kind of like that. The one last time where each one has a frequency of 1. It's not very interesting. Sometimes some measurements just aren't interesting for a particular variable. But what about the mean? Okay, so if we wanted to calculate, the mean here of all of these, right? And let me make sure all of these are big numbers. There we go. I could go through literally and I could add all these values up, B2 to B11, and that would be the sum. And then I could divide, I could figure out how many cases there were. Number of cases, there are 10 of them. And then I could figure out what is 177 divided by 10. Oh, it is 17.7. I know that because I learned how to divide by the tens case, right? So, I can tell you that I predict that the mean is 17.7 here. Oh, excuse me. This is wrong. Okay, I forgot. The sum here is 2,866. Now I made a typo. I did not type in equals sum. Okay, so I'm going to include that mistake because I knew that didn't seem right, but that the average should be 17.7 pages. So I thought, what mistake did I make? And I went back to check. The sum, to get the sum, you just type equals sum and then B2 to B11. I forgot to include the word sum, and so I got something a little odd. Okay, and 2,866 divided by 10 is 286.6. That's the average number of pages in the book. And if you look at those pages, that's reasonable. Okay. Now, what about the median? Okay. To get the median, what I want to do is I want to put these in order because remember, the median is the middle value of the ordered list. Ordered means you make it go from most frequent or smallest to largest. So I'm going to take all these numbers, I'm going to sort them now. I want to continue with that selection. So I'm heading up to data, and then I'm clicking under the data tab up here. I'm clicking sort, and then I want to continue with that selection, and I want to go from smallest to largest. Oh, that's great. Okay, so now I need to find the middle value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So which is the middle value? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a little problem in this case. Usually, if you have an odd number of cases, right, there is a single case that's right in the middle. But in this case, if I go in 4 from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, I get to 177. If I go 4 from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, it's 228. What do you do when there are two ones that are tied? You pick the number in between, which is 177 equals 177 plus 228, and you divide it by 2 to find out the number in the middle. So in that case, the median is 203. It's the number in between those, because you can see there are 4 numbers here, 4 numbers there. Now, if there were only 9 cases for a median, then I would go 1, 2, 3, 4 in, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 there. I would find that this number would be in the middle, and 177 would be the really easy median. But when you have an even number, you have to go halfway in between the two numbers that are tied for the middle, okay? And that is 203. Now, I can show you something easier than going through all that rigmarole for mean and median, which is that you can actually literally just use a command. So I could calculate, it's called average, by the way. It should be mean, but there we go. The average of B2 to B11 is what? 287 it says, but if I expand that out, 286.6. And the median equals median for B2 to B11 is 202.5. Oh, interesting. So what that's telling me is that I made another little mistake. I made a mistake in the average. If I take 177 plus 228 and I divide it by 2, it looks like 203, but it's rounding for me because when I drag it out, 202.5. So I just checked my work. See? I make mistakes all the time, but as long as I check my work by letting the computer do it and then looking at it and saying, does that seem right? Yeah, that seems right. Then I get a little help from the computer to fix it. No problem with that. Well, what about the mode? Again, here there are no ties, or there's no overlap. Everyone has a frequency distribution of 1, so again, they're all tied. They're all tied for first place. And now here's an interesting one, the range. And again, I could do this manually. You take the top value, the highest one, and subtract it from the lowest one. The top value is 813. You subtract it from the lowest one, 71, and I get 742. Now what happens if I say equals range of B2 to B11? Oh, I get a little something different. So in this case, that doesn't seem to be working. Okay, so it's not always the case that just by typing the word for the thing, you're going to get what you want. Okay, absolutely not. So in this case, I'm not going to want to go with range. Okay, I can just calculate that individually. So let's do one more example from here. And let's go with genre, okay? So I'm going to head back here to the main page. I'm going to click the letter above my column. It's all selected. And now I'm copying, right? I could go to Home and copy, or I could do Control-C. And then to paste, I either hit paste here. in my new sheet, or I could hit Control V to paste. Okay, and let's see. What can I calculate here? Can I calculate a frequency distribution? Yes. And I can literally count these up. There are more sophisticated things you can do with the spreadsheet to get a frequency distribution, but here I can just simply type in the 3 genres I have: fiction, nonfiction, and art. And I can count how many I have. 1, 2, 3 for nonfiction. How many for fiction? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there we go. And 1 for art. And now, for the first time, I'm going to have a frequency distribution that looks interesting. Because when I hit Insert and then the little bar chart above here for charts, okay, and it looks like I need to redo that so that I don't have frequency because it thinks it's one of the variables. I'll just do that again. 2D column, there we go. And I can type in at the top frequency of genre. And now I have, let's check the work. Do I have 3 for nonfiction? Yes. 6 for fiction? Yes. Let me make those numbers big so you can see them. And do I have 1 for art? Yes. There. Oh, I've got a chart, and it actually shows variation. That's neat. If I wanted to, I could make it a non-bar chart. I could change the chart type. I right-click on the chart and then change chart type. If I wanted to, I could make it a line with little dots. But it would be the same thing, right? And that's our frequency distribution as well. And it's showing that there are fewer art pieces than there are nonfiction pieces. Yeah, that's easy. Can I calculate mean? No, because those are nonfiction, fiction, and art. They don't have numbers. Or order. Median? No. Mode? Oh, yes, I can. And can I calculate that from something? Yes, I can calculate it from the frequency distribution. The mode is, with 6 observations, fiction, right? So sometimes nominal variables can have ways of summarizing them that are using terms that really don't make much sense when you have a lot of different kinds of numbers. Say for, here we go, this is called genre. Say for title or number of pages. On the other hand, taking one more look, if we wanted to look at the mode for height, can you see the mode for height here in this data set? I can, just by looking. It's close. There are 2 observations of 7 3/4 inches, but the real winner here, with 3 observations, is 8 inches of height. 8 inches of height would be the mode. We could calculate the mean and the median here too if we wanted to. We could calculate a frequency distribution. That would be cool. I bet you could type in a spreadsheet and do it yourself. But this is not work that should take you too long when you're working at least with a small data set. When you're working with a large data set, as you might do for a future class, then you need to learn some more technical rules for how to calculate ranges or frequency distributions. But there are commands in spreadsheets that'll let you do that. And it's really not too hard. It's been kind of easy. And I'm looking forward to you doing the same kind of thing yourself. Okay, cool. Have fun with that, and recognize this really isn't that hard. It's pretty basic work, and if you check your work, like I did, when you make some mistakes, you can make sure that you catch those mistakes before you share it with the world. We all do make mistakes. Everyone does. Statisticians who've been at their work for 30 years make mistakes. But we check, we double check, we use a couple different methods for coming up with our calculations, and we catch ourselves and move on. It's one of the great things about describing the world is that the world sticks around and is kind of tolerant of our temporary errors as we move toward um, better and better descriptions. Okay, thanks for watching and listening with me, and best of luck as you do this yourself.